All right. Hi again. Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing all right. Welcome to week 3 for those that are data quality interns. So today we are going to talk about validation using JOSM. Okay, so our objectives for today, we are going to understand the significance of validation for humanitarian mapping. We are going to learn how to provide constructive feedback and encouraging feedback to mappers. We are going to learn how to use the validation tool in JOSM. So why do we validate? Why is validation done? So you all know that we have a number of new mappers always coming in. We have different number of mappathons. So we validate to ensure that the work that our mappers have done is cleaned up, it is all corrected early. And also we do that while validating, we give constructive feedback to mappers so that we can increase a wider range of validators. Again, we need to spot vandalism early to take the necessary steps to stop it. And also, you all know that validation is crucial because we have different people that use our data. So by cleaning our data, we are giving humanitarian organizations and all the other government organizations confidence or trust on our data. So they can always come back and use our data. We are making our data very good and very reliable. Maybe one example I can give, during the COVID-19 mapping, lots of validation was done by some of the former data quality interns. At the end, the data that was used, maps were created out of it, and it made supply of oxygen in those areas very, very easy, and it was done very, very well. Yeah, again, why do we do validation? You all know validation is key. So what is validation? So during the process of checking our work, we are mainly looking at different aspects of data. One is accuracy. Accuracy is the data well mapped, well squared at the corners, all in the same spots where the buildings are. Consistency, as you can see in the picture, and then the completeness. So completeness, usually it is done by the people that are in the field, where they add different attributes of the features. For instance, the building names, the building, the activities doing there, the materials that they use, etc. Again, when we are doing validation, remember we are using OSM, and we are adding our information to OSM. So OSM has a standard. Like we've been mapping earlier on, we've been talking about OSM Wiki. So there is what they call the OSM Map Features Wiki that has lots of features and references that we can look at. So to ensure map data meets all the requirements in the field, OSM Wiki will help us to check that and to put everything onto standard. And again, another important aspect to take note of is to always read the instructions carefully and use it and follow everything that is written there. So if they tell you use Maxa Imagery, please use Maxa Imagery. And if they tell you just compare using Bing, go ahead and do that. If they tell you please map only buildings, they mean you should only do what they have told you. You map only buildings. Yeah. Okay, so beginner mappers make most possible errors. So it is very, very good to catch it up very early. And remember, we all started mapping as beginner mappers. So it's very good to encourage mappers to continue mapping. How do you do that? By giving them constructing feedback and always thanking everyone for mapping, and then making sure that you are using kind words and respecting people. So validation is used in the hot tasking manager like for us that use a hot tasking manager, you can also do validation directly, that you know how to download data and clean it. Maybe something to note is projects have different permissions, and they restrict permissions to ensure that there is no beginner mapper doing validation. So I will illustrate that when I go to my tasking manager. So you find out that in teams and permission, most cases when it's validation, they restrict it to teams or maybe advanced and intermediate mappers. As you can see here, anyone else can map, but not anyone can validate. So who can validate? Validation teams. So for instance, we have our teams called the Hot Data Quality Internship team. So once we want you to validate, we can add you here. And then validation teams can also work. So you can say either I want intermediate to advanced mappers to work on this project, or I want teams. For instance, I want hot global validators to do the validation, or validator trainees to do the validation. While validating, you all know that the blue color implies that the task is ready for validation. So there are two ways you can validate. I will illustrate that once I got my tasking manager. So one, you can select by user, or you can select by the task. I can say, I want to validate task number, this and this, right here on the tasks. Or you can just input someone's username, and then you like validate their, just a minute. Yes, you validate their work. Yes, or relatively, you can select just one blue task and you run it for validation. Yeah, so validation again, you can select you can say, I'm going on this task and I want to validate only beginner mappers. You can filter that out by coming right on tasks, then update by, then you say, I want available for mapping, for validation, and then you select beginner mappers. Yeah, so another thing that is nice with this, so in case you are invited in a mapathon and you already know how to do validation, you can just go ahead on tasks and you'll see, you select ready for validation, like you can see right here. And then you can do live validation. Once a task is completely mapped, you can be able to see those ones that need validation, and you do the live validation.
Oh, Becky.
Yes, come again.
How do I search for beginner mappers?
I'm going to illustrate that when I go on the demo. Let me first complete the slides, then we shall do that together. I've noted that. Okay, so again, when you are doing validation, we usually we have to make, we are doing validation using JOSM. So you have to make sure that the task that that your editor is on JOSM. I'm sure everyone's editor is on JOSM. And yeah, you can select one by one, or you can do what they call mass validation. Okay, it's not here. So mass validation is when you select more than 3 tasks at once, or more than one task, if I may say, at once, and you validate it at once. So I advise you to pick to upgrade. So depending on the type or the data that you're validating, it's good to pick the number of tasks that you can easily complete, or you can easily validate well. So I'm going to go to the tasking manager. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, so I'm illustrating on this project. So I have to make sure that JOSM is my default editor. You come here and you make it if it's not yet, just in case. For some minute. Please let the questions keep coming in the chat, just in case you have any. So yeah. Okay. So this is what I was illustrating. in teams and permissions. So who can validate, who can map this? Actually, they restricted it to specific teams. Who can validate it? Also validation teams, different teams. And then who is validating it? It is us, the data quality interns 2022. So this is what I was trying to illustrate in the slides. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to select. So you come to tasks here. Under tasks, you can see all, and then you can see most recently updated. So under all, you see available for validation, available for mapping, available for I needed more mapping, finished, etc. And then here updated by, you will be able to see you'll be able to see the like sort by number, sort by recently updated, and lastly updated. So what I was trying to say here, if you want to do validation, you can say available for validation, and it will show you the different tasks that are available for validation. So imagine this project still had tasks for mapping, and someone mapped it like a minute ago, and here it's like recently. It would be here on top. Another thing you can do is that you can just search by number. For instance, I can put in the name and it will bring all tasks for Becky Candy. Or another thing it does, if you've selected a project and you wanted to validate it and to validate them and you stop validating them, still it's going to bring your name here. So that is it. So once you click here, you can go ahead and do validation. Yeah. So another thing you can see here is another thing that that Derek asked, like, how do you sort all beginner mappers? So once you come to contributions right here, you'll see all users. All users has all the people that have contributed here. I can sort out. I can say, hey, I want to validate the work that one of our interns, I guess it's one of our interns, and I can go ahead and just know this is the project. I can look at their profile, and I can know how many their contribution. Just a minute. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see. Okay, so I can know. So if I want to know the number of, the beginner mappers that you have that have worked on this project, I can come here and I say all levels. So once I come here, I can click on beginner. I can know that all these are beginner mappers. You get, all these are beginner mappers. And once I click on them here like this, I can see the tasks that they have worked on, and I can go ahead and validate them. Or you can just note their name, come here and filter them. If you want to take bit by bit, type in their name here, and you'll be able to validate them. Maybe another thing is, if you select several tasks, it's the same thing as multiple mass validation. So once you click on it, you have highlighted it, and if you want to unhighlight it, you have to go back and click on it. For instance, if I've clicked this, my mistake, and I don't want to work on them at once, I just come back and do that. So if I want to validate this, I just come here and I say validate the selected task. I can select several of them. That is number one. You can validate by user entering in the task number or task ID. The other way is that you can just hover around, pan through the map and just click on one, and then you go ahead and validate. The other way is what we call mass validation. Mass validation is when you select several tasks, like different number of tasks at once. I encourage you to select many if you are confident and if the task is not like so dirty or it doesn't have a lot of mistakes. So yeah, I'm going to go back to my slides for a bit. Okay. So how to set up JOSM for validation? You have to make sure you use the imagery as instructed. You have to understand if you need to do an imagery alignment or you're mapping to the imagery. That is, for instance, sometimes the task you're working on has like an offset. They tell you before you start mapping, please offset it to this imagery, the imagery that you're supposed to work on, and then you continue mapping. Yeah, so you need to understand that. And then you have to activate validation and other windows. I will illustrate that. Like you have to activate the authors. It's good to know who is doing that, the map paint styles, the filters, and those others. We shall illustrate that once we go to JOSM. And then yeah, map paint styles, like I just mentioned, the most important map paint styles that I usually use are the inline mapping, the missing maps, stroke youth mappers checks. Maybe another one that I'll also introduce to you is the Apple that Ralph mentioned a bit of it now in his last training. So what do the map paint styles do? Once the map paint styles help you to detect or know the errors, even before you run the validator tool, you can easily see the mistakes or the warnings or the errors that, like overlapping buildings, duplicates, etc. So they're very key to use. Yeah, and then what I mentioned earlier on is filters. Filters help you to work systematically. They help you to hide features that you think you don't want to work on them on that time. You hide and unhide features. Makes mapping very easy, especially when the place is very crowded. Again, so I'm going to, how do you do validation in JOSM? Use your select tool. You can select everything at once, and there you identify what is not mapped. For instance, on this slide here, they selected all the buildings, and you can easily tell what has not been mapped. Again, as I mentioned earlier on, when you are doing validation, it's very key to know, am I doing imagery offset before starting to map? So I illustrate how to do imagery offset. So what imagery offset does, it corrects the imagery. It only moves the imagery for you to align the objects, and then you map the missing buildings. So it's very good to do imagery offset, especially if the area you're working on has lots of has been mapped using another imagery and has lots of buildings. So usually to avoid features from moving a lot of things usually causes you to damage other features. So imagery offset helps on that. Yeah. So another thing, when you're doing validation, the author panel, it's very good to know who has worked on what. It helps you to identify the person, and in case you have any feedback for them, you can easily know who has worked on this number of objects. You go back to the tasking manager and you give them feedback. Yes, I think we talked about this earlier on. So we are going to also learn how to select different features all at once and square them in case they are not squared. We are going to learn how to use the filters. We learned how to use filters last week. So we're going to learn how to use the filters tool to select buildings with 4 corners. And then you realize that there are some buildings that have extra corners, like have extensions. So we are going to learn how to filter buildings with more than 4 corners. And once you select those, you don't select the circular buildings. So again, and square them at once. Yeah, we are going to learn how to use the Mapathona. We learned it last week, but you're going to learn how to use it in data cleaning or in validation. yeah, we're also going to learn how to work on roads that are overlapping buildings. How do we fix that? We shall learn how to fix hanging roads. How do you identify a road is hanging? By just holding Shift Control E on your keyboard and merging. Yeah, and we shall make sure we remember when you're mapping roads, you have to ensure connectivity or uniformity, if I may say. So how do we identify those and how do we fix those? Yeah, yes, so I'm going to now start the demo. So since I want to do like, let me fast this, okay. Since I want to do like a demo on several stuff, I'm going to just select a big area to help me with that. Okay. So I've selected a number of them. This is what they call mass validation. So I've selected several of them and I'm going to run. Okay, hope you can see my JOSM. Any questions? Okay, no questions. All right. Okay. Please feel free to ask in case you have any questions. Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, so I'm going to start on how to validate buildings. So we'll start with what do me usually when I want to start validation. I have to make sure my filters are in. I'm going to show you which filters I add. I'm going to make sure my map paint styles are checked and then, yeah, sorry about that. So I have to make sure my filters are checked. I have to make sure I have the right filters I need. I have the map paint styles I need. Yeah, so how do I do that? I come to filters. In case you do not have filters, you come to your windows and make sure it is there. So I just removed it. So I come to Windows and click on filters. So relatively, Alt-Shift-F on your keyboard will get your filters on the information panel here. Okay, so I have my authors. It's good to know who is working on what. My authors is open. Tags and membership is open. Validation results is open. My filters is open. I'm going to close. Okay, I think I'll be opening them widely for a moment. So I'm going to start with filters. So how do I make sure my filters are in? These are the filters that I need. All right. So I need building equals all. I also need, this is the wrong one. Okay, so I need building equals all. I need highways. I also need waterways. Do I have any waterways? Depending on what I'm cleaning here, it looks like I do not have any waterways. So to add them, remember how we told you, you come to the plus here, and then you just type in building, not buildings, equals all is a star. The same thing, if you want highways equals highway, equals all. All is a star, So you do that for everything that you want to filter out. So I'm saying all because I want you to select for me everything. Otherwise, if you want to check road type per type, you can just go ahead and you specify them right there and then you submit. So I'm not going to submit because I have all the filters I need. And then the other thing I like to get checked is what they call map paint styles. Map paint style. So I have default, this one, it's default JOSM. It's even if you don't add it, it's okay. It's the colors, the colors that JOSM shows. Like for instance, the color of a house is this. If I'm to turn it off, whether I'm to put it on or off, it's all the same. Just turn everything off. So you see, when I turn off my default JOSM, this is how building looks like. But even if you don't add it, it's okay. May I just put it here, usually to illustrate to people what JOSM default looks like. So I have the inline validation that I'll illustrate how to add it and what it does. Then the missing maps, the apple, then map with AI, that one you learn when the time for that comes. So how do I add all this here? I will come to view, or relatively you can come to edit, map paint styles, rather references, and then map paint styles. Yeah, or you just come to view, map paint styles, then you come down to map paint references. So once you get here, remember the online, so you just type in inline, sorry, just the word inline. Once you get it, you click on it, it will blue out, then you send it this side. I already have it. The other one, just type in missing maps. Click here and then you send it this side. The other one is those two. Then the apple, I'll show you how to add it. Map with AI, you learn that when the time comes. So once those two are already in, I'm going to show you how to add the apple. So for the apple, let me share this link. Okay. I've just shared the link. So for the apple, you come and copy this link here. You copy that. Wait, no, this other one. You use this, you copy and this URL. After copying the URL, you come to JOSM. I hope you can see my JOSM. And then you see this plus here. You click on it and then you paste there. You name it like the way you want, like how you can easily identify it. So me, I just named mine. I just named mine as Apple. I just named it as Apple Paint Style.
Oh, baby, I did not see the plus.
The plus, okay, let me do it again. So once you open your map paint styles, you'll see the plus here in the corner where my cursor is. Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
Awesome. So you click on that plus and then you name it the way you can easily identify it. Probably Apple Pen size, it could be a recommended or a good name for it. So you type in here Apple Pen style. Pen style. And then you paste the URL here. Once you paste the URL, say okay, it will come here and you activate it. So once you have activated it, you'll be able to see it here. And then once you okay everything, you have added the inline, you have added the missing maps, you have added the apple, and yeah, basically those. If you want, like me, you can add those default JOSM. Then you okay it. I'm not going to do that because I have everything and you'll be good to go. So if you did not see your map paint styles on this information panel, you come to Windows and then you will see paint styles where you here. Map paint styles, and or alternatively you can press Alt plus Shift plus M on your keyboard and you will be able to see, that. You'll be able to see it this side. So as you can see, let me turn off everything. Okay, I'm leaving the default one only. So as you can see, when I turn on my paint styles, you can easily see the mistakes I can see. you're already seeing overlapping stuff, overlapping road intersecting with buildings. You are seeing overlapping buildings, yes, and yeah, stuff like that. You're seeing already errors. But if I do not have them, unless I run my validator tool results, closing here. So unless I run this, I will not be able to see the mistakes. I will only see them once I've run the validator results tool. So that's what Map Pencil helps. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so okay, so I'm going to turn on each and I show you what they do. So so what the inline validation does is it identifies for me overlapping stuff, like you can see. If I turn it off, it goes off. You see? So that's what the inline validation tool does. It also shows if a building is connected to a road, it flags that as well. I'm going to create a waterway here and I show you what else it does. This is not your waterway, yeah? I'm just creating one here for illustration. So I'll just say waterway stream. Okay, I'm going to create something here. So I'm just going to add it as a bridge. Okay. What did I do? No, I named it badly. Okay, let's say bridges. Okay. So what, as you can see, when I turn off my inline validation, off, it does not flag this. But when it is on, it also flags bridges and culverts that do not have layers. So if I go ahead and select that and add a layer tag, let me say layer equals 1, it will go ahead and the error will run. There's a question in chat. Is it advisable to use both paint styles and the validation results, or relying only on one? Yeah, it is always advisable to use both. Me, I use both. Yeah, I use both at the end. At the end, like after I've seen everything, I've seen the errors, I'll clean. Then at the end, I'll show you how I do it. At the end, I will go ahead and run the validator results. Yeah, because it will help you identify in case you have like extra nodes, like such. If I have such, those paint styles do not identify it for me. So if I go ahead and run my validator results at the end, it's going to highlight for me these. Yeah, that. So it is advisable to use both. Okay, so that's what the inline validation does. It helps you identify tunnels or culverts without layers and bridges. It also helps you get overlapping, intersecting roads to buildings, overlapping buildings. Yes, and then what the missing map does, let me just turn it off so you can see here. It shows you stuff that are sharing walls. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. For instance, if you're mapping land use and there are a number of nodes, then like the land use is sharing nodes, that is okay. So it just flags you, hey, there are these features that are sharing walls. Another thing that it does is it flags anything that has a name besides building equals yes. For instance, if this building was tagged as an apartment, let me just change it as building equals apartment. So if it was tagged as an apartment, it gives it a different color, like it flags it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just shows that you should go back and check what you are working on. All right, so that's what it does. Sometimes it has like extra names. Let me just undo. It has like a name, let me say name. And then they put maybe hashtag, let me say data quality intern. Some people add this. This is very wrong. Let me say 2022. Okay, so it also flags that. It gives them colors. It actually shows the name here, so you can easily identify. So if I had several of them, or someone is naming buildings as maybe 1, maybe 2. These are all data quality issues or mistakes that people make. Maybe 3. So I can easily know, hey, there's someone who is naming buildings wrongly as 1, 2, 3. I double check who is that. Then you confirm, is it like is it a remote mapper, or it's or someone's just adding hashtags. So you can just know, I think this is a mistake. Then you can be able to select everything at once, and you delete that attribute, and you're good to go. Yeah, so the missing maps validation does that. Missing maps stroke youth mapper validators does that. Another thing it does is if it's building inside, the name of the building, if it is attached. Just a minute. I think this is, let's see if it will bring it. Yeah. Okay. This is also the inline validation. I just forgot to mention that. If it's like building inside building, if it's something like this and they are really sharing corners, okay, something like this. So the inline validation does that. So if I turn it off, it shows that. Yeah. So what does the missing maps do? The missing maps helps you to show anything, any objects or any features sharing corners, any features that have extra names. So you just double check and confirm if that is correct, or any feature that are mapped as building equals maybe apartment, besides building equals anything that's not mapped as building equals yes. And then, yeah, and anything that's like extra maps. Inline validation, what it does, it helps you identify buildings crossing, overlapping, buildings overlapping roads, buildings overlapping buildings, buildings inside buildings. So you can, once you run your validator, you run your tasks, you can be able to know all these mistakes and you fix them, you know where they are. So yeah, let me see, I have a number of, yes, maybe another thing to mention, thank you Ralph for answering that. Another thing to mention is that there are like so many map pencils outside there. You can check the map pencil wiki, and if you're good at coding, if you can come up with one, there's like a procedure to that. And then if you come up with any interesting map pencil, or if you're using any map pencil and you think it's very helpful for validation, please let us know on Slack. But mainly these are really good enough to help you to do the validation. So lastly, the Apple map. So what the Apple map does, it's very good when so what the Apple pencil does, it like how can I say, you see this buildings crossing buildings, intersecting building roads, it like makes it more gross or bigger. As you can see, it becomes bigger, and then it also helps you identify identify highways that do not have names. Yeah, so it basically does that, and then it helps you like to wireframe the buildings. Yeah. So if you have any challenges with, okay, so someone is asking, is there a way to find automatically missing buildings in the validation somehow in dense spaces? Yes, there is a way. Map with AI addresses that. Okay, so how do I tell? So I'm going to start doing validation. So I have everything checked. I have the filters I want, and I have the map paint cell that I want. So usually I start with buildings. Just closing this. So I'm going to select buildings equals all. All right. I'm on select buildings. So everything is not squared. I want to square everything. Okay. So first of all, what I can do is just to unglue everything that is connected to the road, so that once I square it, it doesn't move the road. Okay. So after ungluing, I want to select everything at once and square at once. So I'm going to show you two ways. I'm just going to create a circular building here, just for illustration. I'm going to delete them. So I want to square everything, but if I say building equals, if I say building equals all, yes, go ahead. Okay. So how do I identify? I'm going to first answer that question in the chat. How do I know like the missing buildings? So one way you can tell is just to select everything. Once you select everything and you pan through, you can know like there's no building here, there's no building here mapped, there's no building here mapped, and there's no building here mapped. That's how you can tell they are missing buildings. And just panning through the map, really, yeah. So again, I've selected everything and I want to square everything at once. Maybe so, you know, if you select lots of buildings, you may not be able to like, if there are so many, you may not be able to square them at once. But let's see on this. We've selected everything, but I don't want to square these circular buildings, because if I square them all, I'll get stuff like that. And I want to avoid this. So what do? There are two ways I can do that. I can say buildings equals yes or all. For instance, buildings equals yes or all, and then I say I want those with only 4 nodes. So once I submit, it will select for me everything that has 4 corners, and it will exclude these ones with extra more than 4 corners and circular buildings. So you see, so if I'm squaring, I will not square these ones. It will miss all these ones. But how do I now include, if I want to map all those ones with these extra corners, how do I include that? So I'll go ahead and say equals, I'll say negative 10. Okay? So what you will do, it's going to select for me everything and exclude anything that has more than 10 nodes. So it has selected for me even this that has more than 4 corners, and it has excluded, yes, it has included this. I think it has excluded the circular buildings. So like that, you can just play around the number of nodes. So by doing that, I will be able to square everything. So I'm going to go back again, and I just submit that. I will submit that, and then I'll go ahead and square. So it's going to square for me everything. It is squaring a number of them, so that's why it's kind of like that. Okay, so it's done squaring. So you realize that it has squared everything for me. Yeah. So after it has squared everything for me, I'm going to do a fast validation. Okay, I'm going to do a fast validation. So just to make sure everything is on the corner, I get my create tool or the execute tool, and I move. I'll just go in this. I'll move. So this has an extra corner. Press G, Alt, Control Alt, resize it, delete the extra node, and I will. So this is what I'm going to do for this. So just resizing, making sure everything is fixed. Everything, making sure that the shadows are not mapped. So I'll do this for all the tasks. So like this one, I feel like there is nothing here, so I'll just move it here. I will rotate it and delete these extra nodes. Another thing, I don't know if it will work. Let's see. Let's see if you can delete all these nodes at once. Let's see, is it simplify? Let's see. Okay. Okay, let's reduce. So go to this and come to simplify, tool, simplify. We shall say, let's say 3. Okay, it has worked. So you select the building. Sometimes it can freeze the computer, so I don't like using it. Okay, tools, simplify. You say you want it to simplify within like 3 meters. That means it is telling you it's going to delete, it's going to remove for you 6 nodes. You say, okay. Then you square it. That one can help you delete nodes at once. Or you can just highlight them and delete the nodes. Okay. All right. Let me first turn off the. Okay. So here. Okay. So any questions? Please feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Meanwhile, I'm just cleaning this task and I show you how I work. You map this. Move it. I'm going to show you if you want to move like all objects at once, how you do it. So I'm just, okay. Can just adjust this and leave it like that. Just making sure that the corners are well mapped. We're not mapping shadows, just moving them a bit. So this only happens once you have squared everything. If you haven't, now for instance, if you feel like this is different and you want, you can also just create your own like that. Select both of them, Control Shift G, and it combines for you. Other than deleting one by one, it can take time, or you can simplify it the way I did it. So one thing you should know about validation is you really need to be patient with them, like with the work. It just needs patience. Please remind me to show you the mapathona. I shouldn't forget. So this is how you do it. You could see this. Is this a building? Not. So if I think it's not, I can just move this one here, where I think I rotate it and I move it. I adjust this. Okay. So I'm first fixing everything. Once everything everything existing is well modified and looks good, I'm going to again pan through the map and just to make sure that, let me first move this aside and I see this could be different. So I'm going to just split, create different buildings from that. Instead of deleting it, I'll delete this extra node. Okay. So again, for this, I did not have to do an offset for start. I just needed to validate it. I will double check in the instructions just to confirm that. So I'm just, okay. All right. Any questions? We are encouraging you guys to map buildings separately. Make sure they are not sharing corners. Map them separately. I'm deleting the extra node. Okay. All right, so I'm going to separate these just using my create tool, or you can select one and press G on your keyboard to unglue. Okay. All right. Can go square per square. Hopefully I'll manage. I want to finish these. Okay. So I'm going to get my building tool and I just map out all the missing things, the missing buildings. I would like to turn off this. Right. Let me first turn off the upper. Okay. All right. Are there any questions? Please feel free to ask. Let me see this, as if one is coming up. Can we validate with the to-do list? I think if you want to, you can. But I usually love to use the to-do list when I am I'm doing field validation. Like when I'm working on points, it's very easier for me when I'm working in points. I don't know if people have used to-do lists when they're mapping buildings, but this is how you do it. In case you want to use the to-do list, you go to plugins, preferences, edit preferences, plugins for those who might be interested. And then you type in to do. You check that and you'll be able to see it here. If you do not see it here, you come to your Windows and it is right here. Or alternatively, Control plus Alt plus F6 and you'll be able to see here. So how do you work with that? Closing this. Yeah. Okay. So how do you work with that? You select you can use the slit tool, select, and then you come and say add. So once you come here, you work on one thing. Once you're done, you say mark, it sends you to another. You fix that, then you mark, you say done, takes you to another one, mark, it takes you to another one, like that, yeah, until you finish. You do that while marking, done, like that, until you reach the final one. But me, I prefer not using it, especially if I'm just working on buildings. Unless if I'm working on points, it makes much sense for me. Yeah. But if you feel like it's useful, I think for long as it works well for you, you can just go ahead and use it. But me, I just keep going square per square. So I'm going to map these and then I illustrate to you Okay. Just like to make sure the corners separate these. Delete the extra node. I want to see if I can finish all this in the next 2 minutes and I go to the next step. Meanwhile, keep the questions coming. So this is building inside building. So it's identify it. I'm going to square it and just make sure it is okay. I'm going to leave this here and I look for where I can put it. The good thing is just building. Yes, you can put it here. So I'm going to come get it, bring it here. Instead of deleting it, it's just building equals yes. So I'm adjusting these walls. So let deletion be the last thing you can do. So I'm just adjusting this. Okay. This could be 2, but let me leave it as it is. Another thing I can do, if I feel like these are 2, I can create 2 separate nodes and I split, not split. Come and I split the object. I square it, then I resize it and I separate them well like that. So if I feel like this, we just move them aside and I see if they are separate. They could be the same, just the vegetation is there. So I'm just going to move this inside. I'll select both of them, Shift J to overlap them well, join them. And I'll delete the extra nodes. So this is what they call modifying. I've modified it. Can move and square it well. Okay. So I've done that. So if I feel like, could this be a building? It's quite small. Okay, just leave it. Okay, I think I've modified almost everything. Whenever do you add the building filter when it hides everything? No, the building, what do you mean? Are you able to unmute yourself and speak? The building filter will hide everything and leave for you the building. Derek, are you able to speak?
Yeah, but on my side, it even hides the buildings.
I think you entered the filter wrongly, so you don't have to leave any space. What you're going to do is, okay. So type in the word building and then say equal, don't put any space. Then you say star and then you submit. And it should be building, not buildings. Okay. See, it will come here at the bottom and it will select for you. For your case, it will be like this. You come to the plus, we delete everything. So you type in building, not buildings, equals the star, and then you submit. Okay, so once you have submitted, it will come here at the bottom. So I'm going to unselect this and I select the one that I've just selected. And you see it has selected for me the buildings only. So probably you entered the filter with a space in it. So correct that and it will work for you. Please let me know how it goes. Okay. So another thing, so what I will do, I'm not going to do that. What I will have to do if I was validating this, I'll have to map everything missing here and everything missing in between here. And then I will upload. Again, don't forget our hashtag and add exactly what you did. So what I did is I added and modified buildings. Then I'll upload the work.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Nice, good to know.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, So as you can see here, everything looks neat. There's consistency, all you're seeing. Everything looks neat. Then again, I'll go and put in my highway equals all, and it will select for me highway, and I'll make sure everything. Remember, we are validating only buildings, but we are not going to leave mistakes like highways crossing buildings. We're not going to leave them. We're going to leave everything aligned like this one. Just move the node just to align, to perfectly align like that. Okay. So another thing, when we are mapping, remember when you're mapping roads, we want consistency, continuity, and connectivity. So how do I tell, like, I do not have a hanging road here? Like, how do I make sure that everything is correct, everything is not hanging? How do I tell that? So what I'm going to do is you select one of the main roads. For this case, I would select this one. I'm just going to create a scenario here. So I'm going to assume there's a road here and I did not like attach it. Okay, I'm going to let's do this. So I'm going to tag it as highway and classified. Okay, so it's not, remember, it's not touching here. So I'm going to select the main road and then I will press Shift Control E on my keyboard. So what Shift Control E does, it's going to select for me every road that is attached to this main one. So it's going to leave out this one that is hanging. So remember, my filter of highway equals all, it's the one in. So I can easily tell, like, there's a road here that's not what? It's not attached to the main road. It's a hanging road, even just before I run my validator results tool. So after doing that, I'll notice that and I'll come, select this first node and select the other by holding my control key down and pressing M to merge. Okay? Or relatively, I can just highlight these two nodes and press M on my keyboard to merge. So that's how I would do it. The other way is in case, sometimes people map small bits of, I'm going to delete this. People map like small bits. I'm going to keep splitting. Okay. So you realize that you select this part, you select this other part, like there's no continuity of the road. So how would I fix this? Once I'm selecting, I'll just select one, hold my control key down, keep selecting the other, like that. Okay, and then I'll press C on my keyboard to combine. So I press C and it combines for me like that. And it's one whole road continuity and everything. There's no like hanging road and all that. So once I've fixed that, I'll go ahead and okay, just to make sure everything aligns well. Okay, just this. It's okay to move the existing, like it's advised. Yes.
Can I say something or ask something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, sometimes if you want to select road like the way you're adjusting it now, sometimes you end up dragging it. Well, is it not better to use accuracy mode in adjusting road sometimes?
Accuracy mode, do you mean this? I was going to just improve accuracy.
Yes.
Yes, it is. So I was showing you the first one. That one is also recommended. It's good to use that. Okay. So let me just illustrate that. There's this plugin called Improve Accuracy. Rather than like moving node per node, it can also help you note, like sometimes you can move it like this, or you can move it wrongly. Yeah. So to avoid that, again, you can use Improve Accuracy. If you do not have it, edit, preferences, plugins. I think there is a new version. I have the old one. Where is it? Plugins. So improve. Okay, it's this one. this is the one that's the improved way. It's the one that it's there. Let me see if my old version. Hi. Okay, that's the one that is the improved way. So after you, let me say improve. This one. So after you have it, you have it like this, but to be like in a gray color. I think I have it as well. Okay, it's the same as this one anyway. So what this one does, you select it, then you click on the road and you can be able to move it. So in case you want to create an extra node, you hold your control key down like this and you click once. So you just do this, you can move this here like that. If you want to create an extra node, you press your control key down and you move like that. So this is how the tool works. Like that. Okay. If you want to create an extra node, control key, hold it down. But usually it's good to move the existing nodes. It's just good to move the existing. You work with the existing nodes, just avoids conflicts. Okay, awesome. So I think this is good to go. So in case I had like waterways, what I would still enter in the field of waterways, and I would clean the waterways. Okay. So do you have any questions? No questions in the chat yet. Okay. Okay. So there are lots of things here. So just assuming I had mapped everything here, everything is set and everything is good. So after, now you see my tools no longer showing like overlapping stuff. I'll just close these tabs that I don't need right now. And I will run my validator tool. See, my validator tool now is showing me these others that I might have missed. So I'm going, after opening your validator tool, let me close this so that I can have a bigger tab. Okay. All right. So I'll come here, I click on the warning, and then I zoom to the problem. I can come and use this that improve accuracy tool, and I move the road away. This is already fixed. Zoom to the problem. I come here, improve accuracy, and I'll be able to move the stuff. Okay. So what the validator results does, it just helps you to fix that. And then when you're fixing errors, you fix the ones that you can. You fix as much as you can. So if it's like a boundary warning and you do not know how to fix that, please don't worry about that. Just fix the common ones that you are sure of. Like here it's saying missing tag, incomplete object. Let's see, building equals house. So someone is tagging a node as a house. Let us see, tags and membership. Name equals house. So I could just delete this, and it has no like extra details. See if I'm to do it, someone is just tagging this. The name of this place is house. It is vague. So I just delete it and I will map my correct. So in case it had like extra information, sometimes remember we are using points and someone is saying this is a hospital, the name is this and this. I would leave it. It's a hospital. Then I would if I want to, I can come here and I copy the attributes, copy the values, and then I come here and then I say Control V, and it would have the names of all the extra attributes here. Let's see. Copy the values. Select here. paste. See, it changes it as a house. So in case it had like, let me just add for you like in case it had like extra names, maybe the activity taking place, all that information would be pasted here. But for this, just know that this is a data quality mistake. Just delete that one. Someone is saying, whenever I add buildings filter, okay, this is already, I've tried to merge, but it has failed. What do you mean? Merging a road or something, or points? Like,
yeah, merging the points.
Okay, so I'm going to assume again that there is something here. Okay, no filter is on. So imagine this is a road, so I want to merge this to this. So what I do, I will just like, I can even just use this slit like this. I select the 2 points. That's one way. Select one, hold the other, hold your control key. By holding your control key down, and you just press M on your keyboard like this. And it will merge. And when you want to combine, like if it's half-half, it's not like there's no continuity. I'm just splitting. So when you are joining this to this to this, that's combining. So you hold your control key, select the others, and then press C on your keyboard to combine. Sometimes it will bring for you a reverse error. You just go ahead and accept it, and it will combine for you. So yeah, what was I talking about? Okay. All right. It was it filtering rods. Okay, remembered. So once I'm done fixing my roads, as you can see, I was running my validator results. Let me remove the roads. Where are you? So remember, I'm assuming that I've cleaned everything and it looks nice. And now the final stage I've done is to run my validator results. So there is this one that is telling me duplicates. This should be a mistake. I think because the nodes were closer, so it's saying duplicates, but they're not. It's a false positive. So again, here it's telling me self-crossing. I'm going there and I'm saying something like this. Okay, so how do I deal with this? I can just highlight, delete the extra nodes, and I will square it, and I'm good. I've fixed that one. So I'm going to run my validator tool again, and it will bring for me unnamed ways. Remember, we are mapping remotely. We do not know the names of these ways. So I'm going to ignore that, and I'm uploading. I'm going to upload my work. Okay. Okay, so again, what did I do? I aligned the road. I aligned a road. And after aligning it, I also modified some buildings. So I'm just typing in exactly what I did. I modified building. So if you only put modified buildings and you touched on a road, it kind of confuses the person who might look at your work. So it's good to always put or select small roads, type A. Okay, thank you, Jenny, for that. So again, I don't have highway, rather waterways. I do not have naturals. So there is no need to put a filter for that. And even if I had put, I would not see any. So I'm done fixing everything, assuming, and I run my validator tool. It's only bringing for me warnings of unnamed ways. So I'm ignoring that for now. And I'm going to go to my I'm going to go here, and I want to give feedback. Okay, so once you hover, where is it? I think this is also a chance for me to share with you my OSM diary that has feedback. You can copy and paste if you want to. Just a minute. So I wrote an OSM diary with the different OSM feedbacks that I give to mappers, my diaries. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll share it as well in the chat for those that are so here. So what is here are the common feedbacks that I give to mappers while doing buildings validation specifically. So the problem here is like unsquared buildings. This is how I would like give feedback to the person. Well mapped, but please square your buildings after tagging them by pressing Q on your keyboard to square. Keep mapping. Many thanks. So here you can see why do we have to square building, especially when someone is mapping in ID editor. You all use ID editor at the start, you know. We are using the area tool, and the area tool does not automatically square. So we tell them it doesn't automatically square, and we want to map the building accurately. So it is very important, especially to know that the building sizes, and building sizes, remember, they're often used to estimate population size. So if it is oversized, or if it's not well squared, or it's so small, it can affect, it can underestimate the population size or something. So I wrote something here. You can have a look at it. We have duplicates. Which feedback do you give someone when they have done, like, they have mapped lots of duplicates? And as you notice, in my feedback here, there's always many thanks. I'm always thanking people for mapping. This is very encouraging. Like, thank you for mapping, great work. Please next time use the imagery as instructed, like that. The number of errors are, yes, here, you can have a look at that. And you can use it if you want to, or you can use it, adjust it, and modify it. So where do you put the feedback? Once you hover here, you can know that this is task number 166. And then you come on your task here, and you can know, like, it is this last square here. I want to give the errors were maybe here, and the person, you know, the person, you've noted the name of the person. So you come, you hover, okay, it is this task, you come to it, and then you say at this person. Now me, I usually leave my tab open. If the person had like several unsquared buildings, I would just copy this, and I come here, where is it? I come here and I paste it, okay? So if I realize that, and then it's very good to give personal feedback. You can tag it like this. But if you realize like the mistake that the person was making here is the same mistake here, is the same mistake here. So you can just give a general feedback to everyone. And it's very good to give feedback to people. That's one thing. So if I realize that everyone was not squaring and they all have the same mistakes, maybe they had like overlapping buildings, I would come here. Where? Okay. Yes, I would come here and maybe copy for overlapping buildings and add it there. And then you notice that this side here in the corner, the person did not do mapping at all. The person did not do mapping. So I have feedback for such a person here, unmapped tasks. So I thank them for mapping, then I tell them, however, I found several buildings not mapped. Next time, please check carefully through and submit. Or if you are not able to map, you could stop mapping and release the task, like that. Yeah, so I would add all those comments here. So if I want like all these comments to go on this, that is if you feel like they had the same errors, I can just say copy. Oh, there's a bug. Okay, so what I was trying to do is that I would say copy, and then I tell it copy to all. Let's see if it will work. Okay, there's a bug. I'll see if I can try it again. Okay, so what that would do is then you can be able to copy that message to all the tasks so that you don't have to like type on each task. Yeah.
Oh, Becky.
Yes.
If you find that the task is being marked by more than 2 people, and when some of them have done a good work and others have done a wrong work, how do you do that?
So imagine, just going to select.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've selected buildings and I'm going to go to authors. Okay, so these people are the ones that have mapped. Like when you're doing mass validation, you first of all, before you do anything, you have to identify who is making what mistake. Yeah, because it would be very hard to tell. I've already cleaned everything. So I would know, like now, for instance, Becky Candy, I know all Becky Candy staff are these ones. Yeah. So I will know who has worked on what. So if I want, for instance, I checked at a start and this ED person had, I want to give this the ED person some feedback. So I just come here and I note their name. So when I'm coming to give feedback, I can know like which squares was the person. Oh, okay, fine. Did the person work on all these tasks first of all? If yes, let's find out. So I'll come here and if I want to give, I'll say at. Just a minute, at. It will bring people. You see when you try to say at, it brings the person that worked on that task. So once you have identified the person, you'll be able to know who they are. So when you type in at, you will know them. For instance, if it is this person that made the mistake and you know exactly what they did, I'll say at that person, I paste my my comment right there. Now let's try to identify the area that was not mapped. Okay, so I'm just going to come here. So that these upper sides, these two mainly, these two, let's first go back. See, this was not mapped and this one was hardly mapped, these two. So these two in the corner, this and this. So it's 166 and 179. So I'll come to 166 here. Where are you? So 166, I'll say at this person. And then I already have my automated. I'll just copy and paste here. And I will, I'll come back here and I paste it. Get? So I'll say at that person, I thank them for mapping, but I tell them their task was not completely mapped. So next time they can just, they can escape the task by saying no. So what this one does, it releases the task for another person to continue or for them to continue later. Or maybe if they forgot, they should always pan through the task before submitting it as complete. So once, okay, oh my God. Okay, so once I do that and I can give them individual feedbacks. So if I find out that there are these, there are like these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like these ones had like general feedback, I can give them general feedback. Unfortunately, there's a bug right now. So I can paste a specific one for someone. Say copy. I can say I can say copy only to the ones that have yes. I can decide to give personal feedback to, for instance, those two, and then I say yes to all except those two, and it copies for me, and then I select the two that I haven't selected, then I submit. So for now, I'm going to stop because I have not I've not completed the task. I've not validated it well. I need to map all these. And remember, while we are doing validation, we are not invalidating, because the projects that we are going to be working on were mapped like some time back. So if you've invalidated, it will take much longer time for the mapper or any other person to come and map it and finish it. So if for these cases, it's just good, you give them feedback and you go ahead and validate or clean up everything. Yeah. So I'm just going to go back in the slides for a bit and okay. Meanwhile, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Okay. Maybe before I illustrate my persona and maybe something that I might have missed, these are some of the like duplicate nodes. They may look like this. These are some of the pictures, duplicate ways, crossing buildings. You've seen them, crossing ways. Like here, like this is crossing a railway. I'll illustrate how you can fix that. Okay, and then overlapping ways. There's some of the common errors. You saw this building overlapping a road, untagged. These ones are very rare to get unless someone mapped using JOSM, because with the ID editor tool, it cannot accept you to upload anything that hasn't been tagged. But you just never know. People that are using JOSM and do not know how to use the building tool can make such mistakes. Okay, so hanging rods, I've illustrated to you this and how to fix that. And then buildings, inside buildings, we saw that earlier on. Unnamed ways. Okay, so for unnamed ways, remember we are mapping remotely. Please ignore those unnamed ways because we do not know their names of stuff. Okay, again, another thing you can find out is similarly named ways. There are some roads that are similarly named. Again, how to fix them, please just ignore as such. Yeah, unless you have local knowledge on it and you think it's not correct. Yeah, but you ignore that. Maybe another thing I wanted to talk about is deprecated tag. Yeah, like who was that? Was it Search-Record? Yes. So remember when Search-Record tried to enter in a tag called waterway equals riverbank, and it brought for you deprecated tag. So what deprecated tag implies is that OSM does not know that tag, or it no longer uses it. Yeah. So for instance, most people that are doing like field work mapping, they call addresses or provinces as is_in. So it will bring for you as deprecated tags. So usually when you're working on deprecated tags, it's very good to refer to the OSM wiki. So for instance, if you find out when you're doing your validation and you get a warning saying deprecated tag and it says is_in, you can just change that address. You can change it to address, you can change it to address double column province and the error will disappear. So those are some of the things. And then for the ones that Derek shared, we just had to change it to water equals river or natural equals water. Yes, natural equals water, and it was fixed. So deprecated tags just imply that OSM does not know that tag, or it no longer knows it, something like that. So usually you just double check with OSM wiki. You can just type in, for instance, here I would just say is_in. Let me see how it will be. Let's see. It was is_in. Let's see. Let's see if it will bring for us. Okay. All right. Okay. Usually they note it here at the start. They usually note it here at the start, but I'm not sure why they haven't done this. Or another, yes, go ahead, Ralph.
Okay, Becky, that one is only deprecated in the Netherlands. So if you just scroll down your content, you'll see at the bottom there, deprecated in the Netherlands.
Okay, just a minute. I scroll. Okay, let's go. Is it in the notes? I've not read this. Yes.
There it is.
Yeah. So it is deprecated in certain areas. So in case it brings that, you just change that as address, double column, province. You can search anything, literally. You can even just come here and you search maybe place keys, something like that. And it will bring for you like different stuff. Yeah. So I'm going back to the slides. Thank you, Ralph, for that. Okay. So again, I've just illustrated this. When we are allowed to invalidate things, you can say no, it's not completely mapped. But for us, when you're invalidating, yes, it's very helpful to give a message to the mapper, yes. But for our case, we are not invalidating any tasks. Once you feel like you're having a lot of challenges on a specific task, please let us know in our channel for those that are data quality interns, so that someone else can pick it up and work on it, and then you can go ahead with another one. But otherwise, it's okay as a validator to invalidate tasks, and you send it back to the mapper and you show them how they can fix it. Yeah. And they'll be able to read your feedback and fix everything that is there. Okay. Someone is saying, in a situational case, what if during validation a rampant vandalism is found? What possible mechanism is done or followed up with the address? All comments such as mappers, can they be enough? Okay, so for this case, in case you feel like there's like someone doing very bad mapping, there's vandalism, please let Ralph and I know, and we shall be able to revert the change set. So once you upload, there is a change set number or change set code. We can use that to revert the change sets. So I'm not going to illustrate that, maybe for another time. But yeah, you can revert someone's work at once using their change set comment, the change set code. Okay, nice. But reverting is usually advisable for people who have done it before and they know how it works. And yeah, sometimes when you do reverting, it creates extra hanging nodes, so you need to know how to deal with all that. But otherwise, in case you find something like that, please let us know in the chat and we'll see how we can handle that. Okay. Again, this is about the feedback comment that you can give a person. I've already illustrated this in the chat. Still about the feedbacks. Okay, the shortcut keys. Before we go to the shortcut keys, let me go back to going back to JOSM to illustrate the Mapathona. Okay, I'm going to stop working on this and I select another task. I just like to clear my JOSM so that I don't get, so it doesn't freeze or something. So I sometimes do that. Okay. So I'm going to select like 4 of them and I will run the validation.
Oh, Becky.
Yes, go ahead.
How many tasks would you recommend someone to select?
So if it is your first time, as you can see here, Okay. Another thing I'm going to illustrate. I've not illustrated offset, and I haven't illustrated what else? Offsets. I think offsets I did in the other session. I don't think I should repeat it. Okay. So if it is your first time to do mass validation, I would recommend you start with 2, or you can start with 4, like I have done. You can start with 2 or 4. Don't select so many. You see here, there are a lot. It can quite be very tiring and very tiresome, like to validate them. If it's your first time to select more than one task, please start with 2. And as you move forward, the confidence you get, once you feel you're more confident to select more than 2, it's okay. Maybe another thing, if you find like the area you're working on hardly has buildings, it's okay to select as many as you can. So you build a confidence as you do the mount polygons. My mount polygons. As you do the mass validation. So again, I'm going to illustrate how to use the Mapathona. So assuming, hope we all have the Mapathona, but in case you did not install it the other time, come to your edit preferences, Mapathona, check it and make sure it is in. So once you have your Mapathona in, Mapathona has Mapathona can help you select duplicate buildings at once. And if you need to delete them, you can be able to delete them at once. Or if you need to move them and modify them somewhere else or another space, you can be able to do that. And then it also helps you select non-orthogonal buildings, anything that's not well squared. Yeah. So I'm going to start with this. Select for me non-orthogonal. And another thing that it does, like just in case something is not like a perfect, it's not well squared and it has like extra corners. Like this is not something like this. It selects stuff like that. Okay. Something that isn't squared, you see. So once I want to square, I can just square everything at once by pressing Q and it will square for me. So that's what Mapathona does. Another thing Mapathona does, I'm just creating scenarios here, assuming I had duplicates inside here, just creating them for illustration. Then I come to my Mapathona, I'll tell it, select for me duplicates. It's going to select for me all the duplicates. And if I want to, I can just move them aside. Or if I want to delete them, like everything is well mapped and they have duplicates, I can just go ahead and delete. Yeah. Or if I feel like I want to just identify them, and remember, deleting is like the worst, the least thing we do. I can just like move them aside here and I come and I put them where I want to. Yeah. So that's Mapathona helps with that as well. Okay. So in case I found duplicates and I want to fix them, that's what the Mapathona would do for me. Okay. So that's what the Mapathona tool would do for me. Yeah, so I wanted to show you, imagine, I want to just check the history of this. Okay, it was mapped using Maxa standard. And another thing I noticed is the Maxa standard does not exist, no longer exists here, yeah? I'm not sure what happened to it, but it no longer exists. But this stuff were mapped using Maxa standard. So I can just realign them. I think for my case here, I wouldn't do like an offset. You can just select everything again. You can just do the triangle like this. Make sure you shift U to unselect the nodes. And then I can try to just align them like that, yeah? Okay. And then after organizing them, I come and fix them normally the way I do with buildings. Remember, to use the your execute tool, you have to square everything. You have to, it works only on squared stuff. Yeah. For my case, I wouldn't do an offset for this. Yeah. So I want to show you where I can do an offset and what an offset is. I'm going to go and I want to go to, let's see, I'm going to download somewhere here in Kampala. Let's download a small place here. Download it as a new layer. See, just a scenario. If I map one tile with an offset, and let's suppose an adjustment of the tile with the same offset, what changes for that? What changes should a validator do or a validator encounter if they lock both tasks without offset? I don't know if Super, are you able to unmute yourself and ask? I'm not sure if I've understood your question. But all you have to know, if for instance, what have I done? If you're doing an offset and the offset is only for you, it's not affecting your neighbor's work, it's not affecting any other person. The offset you're doing is just for you. Yeah. I wanted Kampala because that's okay. That's it.
Yeah, if I'm getting him right, Becky, I think what he's trying to say is, let's say you've downloaded 4 tiles or tags at a time, and then one of those tiles maybe is using an offset, and then the other ones are not using an offset. How are you going to go about it? If you apply the offset, is it applying all the 4 tiles at a time, or is it only working for the one that needed an offset?
Ah, okay. I think he means like if the other tasks need an offset and then the other one do not need an offset.
Yeah. It's pretty an interesting thing, which myself I've not tried, but then it's a bit tricky.
Now, for instance, like this one, like some other area is well aligned and the other one is not well aligned. I think for that case, me, I would stop mapping and I select them differently. Yeah, I think I'll, hey, wow. Okay, yeah, I think I would select them differently. Let's see. Like for instance, this side is well aligned. Anyway, so me, how do I judge when I need to do an offset? And why do we do offsets? First of all, we do offsets to avoid us moving so many objects at once. So if you move so many objects at once, it can cause damage, or you can affect other existing features. Yeah. So for this case, let me say I'm using this area, like if there are a lot of them like this and I want to do an offset. Yeah. First of all, I'm going to check and find out which imagery did they use. Yeah. Just to know. Control H. They used a customary imagery. Okay, fine. So I want to offset it. So what I'm going to do is to come to new offset, and I'm going to move this like that. And I will record this offset. Yeah. Once I record it, I will, check. I moved it and I didn't. I had recorded it because I wanted to, say, just in case you want to share with someone or to put it in the comment. Yeah. Okay. Let me just copy this. Okay. Okay, so, all right, let's see. Let us see, I'm going to do it again. Okay, this is the one that is on. Okay, so I want to show you how you can do an offset, what you really need to determine. You need to use like the main major rod. It can help you with that when you're doing an offset. Like the main rod. Let me first remove this. Okay. So imagery, new offset. So another thing you do, you can get like one building that you think is can use as a center of reference, and you offset to that, and then you have offsetted. Yeah? But when I upload my work, so once I've offsetted and I feel like this is well organized, I can go ahead and map the buildings that are missing, and then I upload. But when I upload my work and another person downloads it, the offset, like the buildings will still be offsetted. Yeah. So what the offset rule is doing for me, it's just moving the imagery for me so that I can see like an alignment with the imagery that I have and I map, rather than moving all objects at once. Yeah. Any questions on offsets? I'm going to ask Ralph if you can have like one special session just to study, and Ralph is here. Hi, Ralph.
Yes, hi, Becky.
Yeah, I'm thinking, is it possible if you can have like one session just to like, maybe it can even be a 30-minute session to just specifically talk about offsets?
Yes, that is possible. Let's get together, plan that, and fit it in somewhere.
Yeah. Now, good enough. It's been agreed. So just so you know, for now, an offset, correct, it does not move the objects, it moves the imagery for you, and only you do not do anything with the neighbor's work. And once you've done an offset, offsets are very good. There's one project are very good when everything, actually when you offset them, it aligns to according to the buildings that are existing. Yeah. For this case, it's not like a perfect example, but there are those areas when you offset them, it aligns exactly with the buildings that are existing on the ground. Yeah, like it perfectly moves everything to this to the buildings on the ground. So once it has aligned everything perfectly, there are those like missing buildings that are around, and then those you just map them and upload. But once you reselect the task and run it again, you realize that it's still offsetted. Don't worry about that. That's how it works. Yeah. So for instance, you see, I had moved these ones. If I remove my offset, everything goes back to normal. Yeah. Another thing is that you can actually store your offset. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Let me create one and I see how I can store it. You see, let's see if it will work. Okay, let's see. You can store your offset and you just keep using it like just the way I have done it. Get imagery offset. Let's see. You see?
Becky, please, can you go back? I missed someone.
You missed what?
I missed something to store offset.
Yeah, so I copied, and after doing this small offset here, let me just redo it. So I came and I said new offset, and then I tried to align and make the offset. Okay, let's just use this one. And then I copied this offset. And then I said, okay, then I came here and said store offset. Then I said store imagery offset. I pasted it here and I said, fine. It's okay. I don't know why. Anyway, after storing it, I came here, get offset, and it is here. I can reuse it if I want to, yeah. Imagine there was nothing, I come to get offset and it will put for me automatically. Okay. Now, for instance, if you're working on a project and everything is offsetted, and as project managers or as a team, you have identified one offset that you think is appropriate for the entire project that everyone should use, you can store it and share it with everyone, and people will share, like will store the offset, like they will store it and save it in their their JOSM. So once they want to reuse the offset, they will just come here and say get offset, and they'll click on it and it will, they don't have to move everything. So they apply the offset, map everything, upload, map everything, upload. Like once the rest are, they have applied that offset they need to, things are aligned, they map the extra buildings surrounding, they upload, go to the next task, add that same offset, say get offset, they get that same one, it aligns, yeah. So it just reduces, like this person is using another offset, this other person is using another offset, so that like the entire project will have the same offset, yeah. So there's another question. Okay, nice. For issues that are ignored during validation, after validation has been done on the task, how are they rectified later? Okay, nice. So for instance, I've ignored unnamed ways, yeah? And we have done remote mapping and there's field work mapping going to be done, yeah? If it's, then the field people will go and add the data and say, hey, by the way, this road is called this name, yeah? So they'll add all that information and they will come, clean the data and upload the names to OSM. So another way is, me, I stay in Kampala, I stay in Uganda, I can say, hey, this road doesn't have, this residential road here doesn't have a name, but I know it, I live in this neighborhood, I know it's this name, this is my house. I can come here as a local mapper or a person that stays in this area and I add the name. So that is how it is rectified for the case of names, yeah? Now, for instance, there are some errors that are related to boundaries and I do not know how to work on boundaries. So I will ignore this and another expert that knows how to fix maybe relations or issues in regards to boundary will come back and fix. But for me, I have fixed overlapping ways. Everything is aligning well to the imagery. Stuff are very, buildings are well squared. They all have tags, building equals yes, and all that. So that's how it is rectified. So once I do not know something well and I do not know how to fix it, I leave it for another person to fix it. But I have fixed the basics. Everything is aligned. Buildings are well squared. Roads are not overlapping. There are no hanging roads. There are no buildings with hashtags or what. So yeah, that's how stuff are fixed. Yeah. I hope I answered your question, Odilana.
All right. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Mm.
I have a question about mass validation. Let's take, for example, you selected 10 tasks and you validate, let me say you verify that 5 is okay. Maybe you are tired and you want to stop. And you know, once you selected, if you say no, that means the remaining one should be marked as more mapping needed. And if you say yes to all of them, that means the 5 that you have not validated, what happens? So my question is, in that case, is there, what are you going to do so that you can select the one you have verified that they're okay, that it's mapped well, and stop mapping so that you can come back to it later?
Okay, so I'm going to rerun this. So first of all, if you select no, it does not say more mapping needed. It just releases it back to the validation status. So when you select no, when you're doing, how do I say? Yeah, you're right. When you select no, it says more mapping is needed. Yeah. So in that case, for instance, let me just work on this first, right? Okay, I'm just going to put okay. You actually right. So I'm just going to let me square this here, and I fix only this task, and then I show you how I would handle it. Okay, we have like some few minutes. Meanwhile, let other questions keep coming. Okay. So I'm doing like a quick validation. I've just splitted that one building into several buildings. All right, so I'm going to split this as well. Okay, G to unglue and raise. Okay, I'm resizing it. All right. So I'm cleaning this at the border here, just to make sure it is okay. I don't think that is. Let me bring it here. So as I do this validation, I just wanted to mention something about the offset. So you only offset, you need to know to judge whether you're offsetting or not. Sometimes they like tell you in the instructions that you need to do an offset before you start mapping. Otherwise, you just need to move. Like I wouldn't offset because because this building is here, I would not offset the entire project because there's just this building that's not well aligned. Okay, we only offset when there are so many buildings that are offsetted. Yeah, when they are not well aligned. So that's the only time you do offset. Okay, so I'm just ungoing this. Okay, I'm going to map this. And again, just a reminder, we are not invalidating tasks. In case you're finding a challenge with one task, just let us know in the chat so that we can see how we can, maybe someone else can pick it up. I can pick it up as well and fix it. And then you continue with another one. Right, so I'm going to turn on my highway equals all, and I just make sure the road is okay. This is a buildings project. There's a bug, so I'll just move the nodes. Make sure you don't move the entire road like that. Move node if you want to just align the road. Just move the node. It's okay. Okay, so I think I'm just going to just run the validator tool. Okay, so there's no like error on this task. I feel like this task is complete, but then I haven't fixed these others. Yeah, so I'm going to come, this is the last task in the corner here. I'll come to and I hover around to 66. So I'll go ahead. In case I have any comment for the mapper, I will go ahead and put it there. I'll say at so and so, please square or do improve, do this and this. Yeah. So after doing that, I will come. Okay. Okay, so I want to stop mapping and I know the task number is 66. And then I'll come here and I just say 66. Once I get it, and I'll mark it as complete. Did you get it, Kensley?
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah. So I know the number. I'll come here and I put in the numbers I want. Then I'll select this. I'll select it and I'll select it and I'll come here and mark it as complete. So that's how I would deal about that. Yeah. Okay, if we have no questions in the chat, I'm just going to go to the slides again. Someone is saying, since validation comes later, imagery updates may happen. Yes. Is this also considered? Yes. Yeah. So remember, when you're doing validation or when we are editing, we are updating. So still, you can just update it. That's why we keep on like resizing buildings, making them like aligned to the imagery. Yeah. So there are different shortcut keys here. Please feel free to look at them. They really help during validation. Some of them you're already aware of them. We have more here. There are more here. Yeah. So the work plan, before I go to the work plan, I thought I would show you something. Now, I forgot to show you this thing the other time. You can actually measure the length of the road and just judge, can a car pass on this path or not? So to do that, you come and get this line tool and you just estimate like from here to here. And then you come down here and here on the ruler like thing, and it will show you it's like 8.6 meters. A car can definitely pass there. So that's how you can judge. If it brings like other denominations, you can just keep clicking here until it comes to meters. Yeah. Okay. So I think that is it. Let me go back to the work plan and we conclude. Unless there's a question. If there's a question, yes.
Is there a standard measurement for roads?
What do you mean a standard measurement? Like
if a tertiary load should be these meters to these meters.
So that one helps you to judge if it is a path or it is unclassified, yeah, or it's a big road. Yeah, sometimes you can be confused. Can a car pass through here? Like you can know if it's a big road, a car can pass through an unclassified road, right? If the length is huge. But if it's like 0.1, 0.5, you get, those are usually paths. Eh? But there is no standard because roads road sizes are different according to different countries. I hope I answered your question. There's no book for path, it is this one. For unclassified, it is this one. For primary road, it's this one. No. Just helps you to tell, can a huge truck pass here? Or it cannot. So, and then you use those other attributes that we talked about, like, what is a path? You know what the definition of a path, you know the definition of what a truck is, you know the definition of what unclassified road is. So you use that in combination to the size of the road. Yeah. Yes. So Ralph has just given us smaller than 1.8 meters. They're usually they're not usually good for four-wheeled vehicles. Okay. So if it's something is like maybe 1.5, that's maybe a path. Get? Yeah, thank you, Ralph, for that in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, but there's no standard. So for the work plan, for starters, let me just double check if, okay, so we are going to have a bunch of projects to work on as a team. Yeah, but for starters, we are starting on this. I'm going to double check and see if the list is up. Ralph, is the list up?
There is one on the list already, but there is also a mapping task, which is going to be for waterways, highways, and land use. And each candidate should choose 2 tasks, one on the northern outer and one on the central inner, so they can validate both a heavy mountain area and also a flat valley area. Now, if they do one of each, that will give them the experience and knowledge and understanding of mapping in both those areas. And we will be putting on a list. There is one validation task already up and waiting, but I will be adding to that list during the course of today.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to share all those tasks in the channel just shortly after this. And yeah, it's very good to pick those different tasks so that you can be able to have a variety of projects. Okay. So a good reference would be OSM Conversations of Our Country. Yes. Mark, you're right, especially when it comes to roads. Yeah. All right. So that is it for today. If you have any questions, you can ask right now. I'm going to add training sessions here in case we have any for you. Actually, it's already there. I think some shared mapathons, just in case you want. Then the different working groups, you can go ahead and feel free to attend the sessions. Yeah. Yes. So as we do mapping, as we do the validation, as you keep mapping other features, please feel free to apply to become part of the hot validator team. I'll share the form in the group, but otherwise it's there in the slides. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. If there are no questions, I will say goodbye. See you on Slack. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Becky. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
Oh, Becky, are we going to stop mapping?
Oh, yeah. We are now going to, like Ralph mentioned, we have some number of tasks that we're going to continue mapping other features, but we are now kicking off with validation. Yeah. Those other projects that Ralph mentioned, they're just going to help you increase the stats of other features like waterways, roads, etc. But then we have started validation. Let me look through the document and I share the list of projects. Probably I'll create teams as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Bye, everyone.